How's it going, everybody? Today I've got some more magic for you with a Goblin deck that I've been meaning to put out for a few weeks. I'm calling it Goblin Banner because it is all about banners, the Heraldic Banner, Patchwork Banner, and Banner of Kinship, and Goblins. So the real purpose of this deck is obviously just to get out as many Goblins as you can, play them with banners to pump them up. We've got things that benefits very severely from that, like Cacophony Scamp. It is a 1/1. Whenever Cacophony Scamp deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it if you do proliferate. When Cacophony Scamp dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So this is something that your opponents are not incentivized to block because it can blow up their creatures, it can still deal its damage to their health. And it's actually a really good win condition in this deck to be able to just sacrifice it to get that last little bit of damage you need. Things like the Banner of Kinship, Patchwork Banner, and Heraldic Banner all make its power bigger, so when it dies, it is dealing that much extra damage to people. We've got Burst Lightning. Without being kicked, it is a 1-drop for 2 damage, not very different from a Shock or Torch the Tower, though Torch the Tower only hits creatures. But it has a kicker for 4, where Burst Lightning will do 4 damage instead for 5 mana. Can be a really nice way to finish off the game. Also is a really good way just to remove obstacles in front of you while you're attacking, because this is obviously a very aggressive deck being mono-red. We've got Goblin Tomb Raider, a 1-drop, 1/2, and as long as you control an artifact, Goblin Tomb Raider gets +1/+0 and has haste. So, this is actually one of the most fantastic cards to say, turn 3, you pay 3 mana to get out a Patchwork Banner or a Heraldic Banner, and then you've got the 1 mana left over that banner can tap for, then you play the Goblin Tomb Raider on that turn, it gets haste and is a 3/3 or a 3/2, you know, depending on what banner you have out. And then we've got Krinko Mob Boss. He works really fantastic if you can give him haste, which we really don't have any way to do so in this deck. You could potentially try running a few discard effects and Soul Cauldron, Tasha's Soul Cauldron. That's what I've seen a lot of people doing, like Ash Lizzle and some others. And that's a really fantastic through line for this if you decide to go that route. But in this case, we just hope that it doesn't die. And I've actually had a lot of situations, because I've been playing this deck all day today, where he just gets to sit there and keep making things. I played against an Orzhov deck that's all about, like, life gain. It had all kinds of, like, Amalia and stuff that kept getting bigger off of them gaining life, but they never got flying or trample at any point, so I was able to just sit with Krinko and keep making infinite blockers and attack for the win. So you can get a lot of situations, especially like mono green, different things like that. I've noticed the worst matchup for this deck so far from my practice has been Infect. Infect has been really obnoxious because you just have an impossible time trying to create a board state against it. Golgari, in fact, not Demir as much, but I assume it would probably be just as frustrating. Maybe not as much, because they're trying to do things like Vraska's Fall, where Golgari, in fact, is more like Death Touch creatures and Infectious Bite, so they can really pick their targets or just kill all of your things by blocking. Gets really obnoxious. But anyway, beyond our 1-drops, we've got 2-drops, Dragon Fodder. This gives you 2 1/1 Goblin creature tokens for 2 mana. Really fantastic, actually, and sometimes is the play you want to do on turn 2. We also have Obliterating Bolt. This is primarily in here to deal with things like the Unrelenting Slasher, Unstoppable Slasher, whatever it's called, and Aclazotz, the bat that has recursion and lifelink. So that's why Obliterating Bolt instead of like a Witchstalker's Frenzy or something along those lines, though you could easily use it too. I did it first, but then started running into a lot of things that wouldn't stay dead. So that's why I switched to Obliterating Bolt. We've got Goblin Seer Slicer, probably one of the best Goblin cards to come out in Foundations. 2-drop, 2/1 Goblin with Raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, create a 1/1 Goblin creature token. really good. You don't play it out till the end of your turn, so a lot of times your opponents will have already used up whatever removal they have. Even if they didn't, he draws aggro really well, so he can potentially remove the removal from your opponent's hand and let you have a freer turn for Krinko. A lot of times the best way to go for this is turn 1, get out a mountain and maybe like a Cacophony Scamp, and then turn 2, Dragon Fodder or Seer Slicer if you're able to attack. Turn 3, get out like a Patchwork Banner or Heraldic Banner. If you can, do a Tomb Raider off of that, because you'll have the 1 mana left over here. And then on turn 4, we go with Krinko. Turn 5, especially if Krinko doesn't die, tap it, make as many little dudes as you can, and then use Banner of Kinship and get huge. So that's more or less like a perfect match. I don't think we'll ever have that. I haven't had that in any of my games where I've been testing and playing this so far. But this deck is really fun and kills people very quickly. So if they don't answer everything, they can die very, very quickly. And it's been a lot of fun. You could potentially drop down the land in this deck to a 22 or even maybe a 20. You do want to make sure that you get at least 3 mana to start playing these banners, but then these banners help you ramp. It's been working really well with 24 for me, but you could potentially drop it. I just haven't felt the need to do so, but everything is essentially... The main reason I don't drop it is actually this Banner of Kinship being a 5 mana cost. That's what really convinces me not to make it less than a 24 land deck. I don't have a sideboard in this deck. You could easily build one, but I don't think aggressive decks like this are very good in best of 3. Any kind of like mono red where you're going aggressive, goblins, things like that, even elves, are only made worse by playing best of 3 because your opponent can sideboard for it and make it less likely for you to win in the following rounds. The real benefit of a deck like this is to surprise your opponent, maybe have something they don't have answers to, and roll over them in one match in best of 1. So that's what I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be playing best of 1, trying going for 3 wins. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully I get some good matches, because like I said, I've been playing this all day today. I'm already up to about 10 wins today with this deck, so hopefully I can keep that trend going. Alright, opponent's going first. This is actually a pretty good hand for our opponent going first, because it gives us the opportunity to draw some of our cheap stuff. Probably be Obliterating Bolt if I had to guess. It's the only thing that's a real threat to them as far as they can see. We'll see if highlighting that makes him decide to take it. Yeah. So, no surprise there. Took the Obliterating Bolt. We expected that. Got a deep Cavern Bat now. They'll almost definitely take the Dragon Fodder because it keeps me off of anything on turn 2. Yep. So, player is extremely obvious. No surprises. We'll probably Burst Lightning the Bat at the end of this turn, though. We've been slowed down significantly, though. All of our turn 2 plays have been taken. Unfortunately, we can't really just run out of Krinko either, because I guarantee they'll be holding removal for it. Doesn't matter if Glissa hits us, because she can't blow up artifacts. Okay, they got a Mosswood Dread Knight, using it for a draw. Let's go ahead and get a Patchwork Banner out here. Go Goblin. Now we've got 3 mana, we'll go Heraldic Banner on red. Now we've got plenty of mana here now, can do pretty much anything we want, and our things will be big at least. I could have gone with Dragon Fodder on the last turn, but like I said, I just expect all of our creatures to get killed, so I'm stalling. Opponent apparently doesn't seem to know what they want to do here. Okay, Sentinel of the Nameless City. And a Bronco, so no kill spells on this turn. Let's go ahead, throw out a Krenko. Throw out a Goblin Fodder, Dragon Fodder. Krenko's obviously just going to be killed now as long as they have a kill spell, and I'm sure they do. Virtue, so that couldn't hit Krenko. Mosswood, so maybe they don't have like a go for the throat or anything like that. Obviously, he wants to get rid of Krenko if he can. But it looks like he just doesn't have it. Hopefully we draw a Goblin we can play here. Goblin Fodder's a really good one. So play Goblin Fodder, tap Krenko. Now we've got lots of Gobbies. See if he wants to trade for my token, which he did apparently. Now we've got plenty of tokens to chump with, and we actually have another Krenko in hand. Okay, never mind the Krenko in hand. Alright, somehow we actually won there. It makes sense to an extent. If he didn't have an answer to Krenko, I was going to just keep pumping out more and more goblins and hopefully drawing goblins to play. I'm pretty shocked we won that match there, honestly. They had a lot of early disruption, getting rid of our Obliterating Bolt, holding our Dragon Fodder hostage. They slowed us down a lot. But I guess they just didn't have any answer to Krenko at this point, and they weren't going to be able to attack through anymore. Even all of my 1/1 goblins were coming in as 4/3s because of this. So, yeah, actually pulled out our first win there. Okay, we get to go first. No 1-drop's pretty sad, but this still looks like a good hand. We will probably try to play something other than the Seer Slicer if we draw it. We did not, so Seer Slicer it is, which will probably sadly get burned. We can make it a little bit bigger on this turn, fortunately. They're looking at it. They're trying to see if they want to kill it. Okay. Opponent had a Get Lost. And we are not on creatures right now, sadly. Patchwork Banner going for Goblin. Now, our Soulstone Sanctuary will count as a Goblin if I animate it, so it is an option if nothing else. I am going to go ahead and try and get these banners going first, though. Get Lost does not hit our banners by any means, so they would have to have an exercise or something along those lines. It's too big for a temporary lockdown as well. I'm actually not sure what our opponent is doing since they're playing 3-color. Caretaker's Talent, so they're trying to play some kind of a token game here. No big surprise there. Be honest, I don't really want a Burst Lightning, but I'll probably take it just because it's damage. My only creature is now a land that he'll have to deal with. He is at risk of death if he does nothing. Okay, Get Lost on the land, meaning we're pretty much just going to do a repeat of the last turn here. Okay, we'll go ahead and do this because 2 damage wouldn't be enough to kill him. And attack. Now the opponent's at 3, so we can kill them with our Burst Lightning now if they don't heal. Yep, temporary lockdown doesn't work on anything. Alright, that Sunfall guarantees our victory. Give them the good game. And, yeah. So, I mean, we didn't draw any of our goblins. The only goblin we had was the Seer Slicer, which got answered right away, but we had 2 Soulstone Sanctuaries, so, I mean, they still count as goblins. They became 7/7 goblins that hit him twice for 14, then a Burst Lightning along with what he was doing for damage to help us. This actually was a pretty easy match, despite the fact that we really didn't get to fill the board at all. Alright, we get to go first. We've got some pretty good cards. Start with the Cacophony Scamp. We did draw a banner, which is pretty nice, so we'll go Dragon Fodder this turn and get the Tomb Raider out next turn. If he kills the Cacophony Scamp now, that's not really a big deal to us. Yep. Ooh, and he's doing it with a Bitter Triumph of all things. So we've got good damage going in on our opponent right now. And honestly, pretty decent plays for the next few turns. Would be nice if our opponent wasted the removal right now, and they are, so we're going to get a good Goblin Seer Slicer in here. Okay, Zombify from the opponent. They get a Burst Lightning, which will sadly be able to kill our Seer Slicer. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Bitter Reunion from the opponent. They can't crack it this turn. That's really weird. Yeah, you should block the 3/3. And they're probably dead this turn. Unless they kill us. And we're at 20. Electro Duplicate. He still only gets to keep 1. Gets my banner. Molten Duplication has the same issue, so he still only gets 1 Atali. Yep, you still only get 1. Bitter Reunion and a Seer Slicer. He can give it haste. Another Molten Duplication on Atali. He still only gets 1. He's all out of mana now except for the banner. Okay, so he just wanted to do his thing, I guess, because he really wasn't getting anywhere. Next turn, we, at the very least, we're going to be able to attack with these 3 plus the Soulstone Sanctuary again. So, yeah, this was silly. This was so stupid. If you're going to be playing this kind of deck, you really need to use your duplications on things like the Carnosaur. Using any of this on a tally is just obnoxious. You don't actually gain extra creatures, so if you're this far behind, you lose. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will say this deck is very difficult to win with. Most people are playing things that are trying to deny you the ability to do anything. This was just a fun spin on Goblin, so I wanted to do it. I thought it was interesting. You can absolutely tweak this deck and probably make some improvements. Putting in something that would allow for Krinko to have haste is probably one of the better things that I could suggest in the deck. I don't recommend doing the Enduring creature that gives haste and +1/+0 because it is so expensive. It's still a 4-drop, so if you want my honest recommendation, you could use some kind of like Swiftfoot Boot effect. You could use Bitter Reunion because it gives you the ability to draw cards and discard. You could use that Soul Cauldron and you know, a mix of like Bitter Reunion and Soul Cauldron and go that route. That's already been popular. But this was something, honestly, this is a little bit cheaper and easier way to go about doing goblins if you don't have a bunch of the rares. Because I don't have the Breaches Goblin, that's very, very good. I don't have the little 2-drop Lord that makes all of your goblins get +1/+1, and you still achieve that with all of these banners, but they're uncommons. So, I mean, it's just something to think about. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me for another video.